Hey everybody, welcome back for my second full-length tutorial. I'm really happy to have prepared this for you, and I hope you enjoy it. I had a lot of fun making it. Hope you learned something, and most importantly, just have fun with it. So we'll talk to you at the end of the video. Happy painting. So let me tell you briefly what I've done here. You can see my canvas. It's an 18 by 24. Right down here I've got black gesso. That is a black acrylic paint. I painted that on earlier. Takes about 30 minutes, 20 minutes to dry. The reason I have the black down here is I'm going to have some grass and some foliage down here. So it automatically gives me the darks. And that's why we like the black canvas. Either full or just partial. It puts the darks in place for you. So that's a good thing. Makes it a lot easier. So then what I did up top is I have a thin coat of liquid white, which gets the canvas wet. And you can tell how much liquid white you got on, if it's good or not, by your fingerprint. When you can see your print outline in your finger, that's just enough. You don't want to gob it on there. So I got my liquid white up there. Now on the bottom, I'm going to put, over the black area, I'm going to put some of this. This is called Gambling Clear Gel. Kind of like Bob Ross's Liquid Clear, but it's non-toxic. So we're going to drop a little bit of this on the bottom. I'm going to show you how I put that on, very sparingly. This is the clear gel here. So I'm going to take a little bit of this clear gel on my brush. And then I'm just going to kind of do this. Just kind of smudge it around a little bit. We don't need a lot of this, and a little bit goes a long way. And then we're going to scrub that in. Circles does the best. But really scrub it. I love this Bob Ross easel. It's fantastic. The screws hold everything in place, but it does wobble. I've heard there's a couple ways to fix that, but I haven't done it yet. So again, just a little bit of this clear gel. All this does is it makes the canvas wet, and then it allows us to blend paint a little easier on it. I don't want a lot on here. Don't need a lot. And truth be told, honestly, you only need your liquid white and your clear gel really where you're going to have water, or you're going to sky, or if you're blending. But it does make the application of paint a little better. A little easier, I should say. So now I'm going to take a paper towel and just kind of wipe. Actually, let me use a shop towel. Shop towel will be a little better. And just wipe this off a little bit. There we go. It just ensures a nice thin coat, which is what we want. We're going to get rolling here. We're going to put in our sky, and what I'm going to do is take you through the colors I got for today. And excuse my palette; it's kind of a mess. But I've got some crimson. I got some Van Dyke brown and dark sienna. Here I've got two purples mixed. I got a little bit lighter and a little bit darker, and I made this with some phthalo blue and alizarin crimson. Much more crimson than blue. And then added a little white to each. So for my sky, I'm going to have some purple, so I have those two shades. Mountain Mix. Last time I did my live, Mountain Mix is awesome. I highly recommend it. You know, when Bob did his mountains in his underpainting, he used dark paint. He put some blue, some brown, some black, some crimson. Well, the Mountain Mix has all that all ready to go in the tube. So you pull it out and you're set. You know, I use it for all of my underpaintings. If you want to make it a little lighter, you can add some white to it, which certainly helps. For more distance, you can add a little bit of white to it. But for me, it's great. There's no more having to mix all the little colors. So, but again, Mountain Mix, some Prussian blue here, some phthalo blue, some phthalo green. I've got titanium white here. I think I said in my last live, I love the Gamblin Artist Series Titanium White. Super, super thick. Fantastic for icing your mountains. You know, I like a little bit creamier of an oil paint for some other things out of my white, but for mountains, it's absolutely the best. So I love that. My red, we got a little Indian yellow, a little yellow ochre, some cad yellow, sap green, and then that's my clear gel there. So we're going to start off here by going into some yellow. I'm just going to pull this out. Just a little bit of yellow. I'm just going to tap it. We're going to decide where we want our sun. So we have a big mountain here, a little valley here. So I'm thinking maybe, you don't never really want it in the center. You can put it in the center. It's not the end of the world, but I always like to do everything off center. You know, I try not to have a split right down the middle. Just looks a little better. So maybe we'll start right here. And we're just going to do this. You can do X's. However, swirl it a little bit. Something like that. Load up a little more. And again, I'm just tapping into a very little bit of color. Just a very little bit. We can always add more color. It's much harder to take it off the canvas. So we'll go back in the center here. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Let it kind of go out. A little bit here, a little bit there. And then we're going to go into a little bit of ochre. Just tapping a little bit right into there. And just going to kind of come around this a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be neat. Just kind of throw it in there. And swirl it. I like brush strokes. Brush strokes look good in your sky, so don't be afraid to put in some of those brush strokes. Maybe a little more. You can also spin some. You could put a little bit of Indian yellow in there too. Maybe with a little red here and there. A little Indian yellow. Like that. And we're going to blend all this, so no worries about it. I'm going to go into a little more yellow in the center. Like that. There we go. All right, so we're going to take that brush and I'm going to clean it off a little bit. Paper towels. Always have rolled paper towels. I have many of each brush. This happens to be a Kevin Hill 1-inch, but I got a lot of Bob Ross 1-inch, 2-inch fan. I got many of every brush, so I don't have to dip and clean, when I'm painting. I only clean my brushes at the end, so obviously I'm not exposed to the thinner. So wiping your brush is essential, just to get that excess paint off, and then you don't have to worry about it. And you can use it for different colors as long as it's relatively the same hue. Okay, so now we're going to come in here. We're going to come into our lighter purple. And again, we're just going to pull some of that out and tap it. We'll see what happens here. So we're just going to bring a little bit of that purple around that. And you can do, for the sky, sometimes these little C-type strokes or like this are kind of cool. Just tap her in there. And it's okay if they cross over. Like I said, we're going to blend all this out. Get some more color in there. A little dark. Like that. All right, then we're going to go into that darker purple. Just tap, 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 tap. That way you get a nice even distribution of paint in your brush. Okay, and then we'll come up and kind of bring this over. We're going to make this a little bit darker. So I'm going to put a little more crimson. Oops. A little more blue. Maybe a little phthalo in there too. Just to darken it a little bit. Okay. Tap that out. There we go. And kind of bring it in from this top corner a little bit. A little dry over there. That's all right. And just bring it down. Tap, tap. Again, we're going to blend all this out, so no worries. Good thing that when you're painting, if it looks like crap, that's good. Once you get to the end and you start to get it done, it'll look better. All right, so we're just going to kind of do something like that. All right. So now we're going to come with a clean brush. And actually, you know what I'm going to do first? I'm going to add a little bit of a sun in there. So, as Bob would say, we'll do some finger painting here. So we're going to take our finger and just a little bit of white on our finger. Don't need too much. And come up to this center spot here and just around. Get a little more. This is just going to be an indication of a sun. It's not going to be a bright sun. Just an indication that there's a light back there. Something like that. Then we'll blend it a little bit. Good. Now I got to wipe my finger off. All right, now we'll come back with our blender brush and we'll start blending where the colors meet. We don't really need to blend this too much, maybe just a wee bit, just a little bit over this. Okay, and then we're going to come up to where the colors come together, and just the more pressure you use, the more it'll blend together. So vary your pressure on these little border areas. We definitely want to use a little more pressure. It's okay to bring the color down. That liquid white allows it to move. I don't like to use a lot of liquid white when I paint. The bare minimum, if that means like you see some spots here that I got to work a little more, that's okay. When you get too much on there, it can be a mess. It can get super soupy on you, and then your little details are very hard to paint. So we're going to blend this out. And again, it's okay if some of that color comes in there. That's fine. You can use little swirls. I always find that those are very helpful in spreading the paint around. Again, it's a little dry down here, but that's okay. There's an easy fix for that too. Just tap into a little bit of the liquid white. And you can throw it in there. There we go. Make everything a little more slick. So again, we're going to swirl this around. Come up here. Ooh, working it. And this will all be covered up, so it really doesn't matter down here, but just to work it a little bit. Get those brush marks out of the way. Try not to go back over your yellow with this purple. But just like that. Very good. Just get all those marks out. Okay, very nice. Let's see what we got here. Now we're going to grab ourselves a fan brush. Make sure I didn't forget anything here. I think we're good, and we're gonna plop some clouds in. So I'm just going to take some of this purple color here that we got. Move this out of the way. See if you guys can see this or not. But a little up into this purple color, and just load our fan brush up. There we go. Good. Don't need a lot of color here, just a little bit. And we're just going to come in here and put a few little rolling clouds that are over this yellow. And we're just doing little circles. maybe that boy comes right over the sun. Something like that. A little more of that purple. Maybe he does something like that. Don't need a lot of paint here. Little floaters. And maybe down here, something like that. Something like that. There we go. Now we're going to come back, and I'm just going to use the brush that I blended with. I'm going to wipe it off. Wipe it off real good. Okay. And we're just going to blend these out a wee bit. Just with the corner. Just the base. Just little ones you can just kind of go over like that. I want to go over that sun. Just blend them out. Fluff them up a little bit. There we go. That's better. Got a little whoop whoop. Don't want that. All right. Now, let's go to a fan brush, and we're going to go to some white. Just some titanium white. Right there. We might even put a touch of yellow in there. Just a little bit. So just come in here and just really just a corner. Just a little bit of yellow in there. We'll see if it works. Okay, so now we're going to have a couple of white clouds in here. So maybe this boy comes in front of this one. Big thing with clouds is spin. And don't lift your brush off. Like that. More paint. Maybe this guy comes in here. The big thing with clouds too is once you make your cloud, don't keep going over it, because then you'll just blend it away. And it's okay to leave dark spots, because there'll be more like shadows in there. I don't know, maybe this guy's a little up here. All right, something like that. We're going to have a big mountain in here. It's probably going to cover a lot of this up. That's okay. All right. Now we're going to come back. And now we're going to blend these clouds out. So just with the corner. Don't touch the tops. Just blending out the base. And leave some of those irregularities in there. Oh, got hair. Oops. There you go. If you ever get a hair, just take your brush and skewer it right off of there. Don't overblend your clouds. Really important. You have to leave some of those darker areas and don't touch the top. These back half of the clouds away from the light will blend away a little more. Wipe your brush off or smack it on the leg. Clear that paint off. And then we're just going to touch very gently. Like that. Okay, and then this one up here. And he's further away from the light, so he's going to be a little darker. All right, very good. Okay, then we come through here and gently, you always see Bob fluff the cloud. Don't go straight up. Go in a circle. So we're kind of like, and barely touching. No, barely any hairs touching. It's just going to lift that rim. Okay, it's just going to lift it up a little bit, which you'll see in a cloud if you look at it closely. Same thing here, just in a circular stroke, just lifts those tips up. Again, just gently. Same thing here. Like that. Very good. All right. And then carefully, softly, if you'd like, you can blend. I don't like to go too much back and forth. I find it pushes your clouds right and left, but just a gentle, I'm going to stay off of this a little bit. All right, I think that's good. Step back and take a look. When you're painting, it's always important to step back, see what it looks like. It looks a lot different when you're standing here as opposed to 10 feet back. So always take a step back. I might even come back here. I'm going to spin in a couple. We'll see if it lasts. It might get covered up. We don't know. We'll see. All right. And maybe come back. Maybe just a touch of highlight on that one. And then we'll blend that out a little bit, just a little bit. There you go. Excellent. Now I'm going to come back. I'm going to take my little filbert brush, one of them. All right, so we got the sun here, so there's going to be some light on the bottom of these. So we're just going to go into, just got my little filbert brush here, and we're just going to touch. And don't make a straight line, but just kind of tap in a little bit of color on the bottom of this cloud. Maybe it hits up there a little bit, and then it'll taper off. You know, might be a few spots where it comes up a wee bit. Same thing over here. You know, a lot of light on the bottom of this cloud. There we go. Now this one might have a little bit down here. Kind of fades off. And then over here, we'll have a little bit on the top. Just touching. Like that. And then these are too far off in the distance, so we're not too worried about those. Excellent. Just a little bit. Okay, then we can take a blender brush, just a real soft blender brush. I get these blender brushes at the, I think the hardware store, or maybe it was Michael's or Hobby Lobby, but they're very cheap. They do shed a lot of hair, so you got to be careful with them. You have a lot of hairs in your paintings for sure. But then we're just going to come here and just going to kind of gently touch that. Just to break it a little bit, smack the brush out. Okay, same thing over here, just a little bit. Up here. That's good. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this purple and I'm going to swirl it into a few of these clouds just to add a little bit of shadow here and there. Maybe this one comes up a little bit, like that, and that's already in shadow. Something like that, just adding a little bit of color, and then we'll wipe that off and just kind of blend it. Just adds a little dark in there. Oops, more hair. And you don't have to do that. This is very subtle. All right. I think we're good there. We step back and take a look. Yeah, I think we're good. You can also come back if you'd like. You don't have to do this, but you can come back and add, if you wanted to add a little more brightness on the top of these clouds, you certainly could do that. Might add a little bit on this one. Yeah, I like that. Maybe we'll do that over here too. So we're a little bit where the light just to freshen those tops a little bit. And you could even add another little plane in the cloud. See, just by doing that, you just add another little plane in your cloud. I think my mountain's going to cover all that up, but that's all right. And then maybe over here. Again, you don't want to overkill it, but you can certainly just kind of like same way you do the foam on a wave. Yeah. Maybe just a few spots where you think the light might be hitting. Okay, now we're going to get my blender. We'll come back, and I'm not going to touch that too much. I like the way that looks. I might just fluff it a little bit. Like that. I'm going to knock these down a wee bit. And you can just keep going and going and going and add more stuff, but we ain't got all night. Alright, same thing over here. We'll just touch it a little bit. Fluff her up a little bit. Very good. And then the same thing here. Just touch it. Take it down a wee bit. And then fluff. All right, very good. And then take that brush and just kind of set the whole sky down. Real easy. Very good. Well, at least we hope so. All right. So let's go. I'm going to go into my mountain mix here. We'll pull out just a good flat amount. Okay. Cut across. Get a roll of paint, as everybody knows. So I think we're going to put our mountain, let me see here. I want it about right here. So I want this more of like a cliffy. Something like this. Sometimes it's fun when you do your mountains, just take your knife and just make a top and then see what you can make out of that. It's pretty cool. You know, just make any kind of shape and then do your best to make that work. It's kind of fun to try that. And I always recommend a practice canvas for that. They're so much fun and you can learn a lot by just experimenting, for sure. So all we're worried about when we do a mountain at this stage is just a clean top edge. All the stuff here doesn't matter. So bring this one down like this. And then maybe this kind of does this. Let's bring this like this. Okay. Maybe this comes off that. Something like that. Don't like this straight line. I'm not a big fan of, you know, straight, so if you get something like that, just break it up. Put a bump in there somewhere. You know, even just something like that. Maybe this comes down. I'm really just winging this mountain, so I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with it, but we're going to play with the shape here. And then she'll just drop off the edge of the earth. So that's really all we need, is just that clean top edge. Maybe this comes down and just kind of goes away. Something like that. So once we get our clean top edge, we want to get all this paint off. Get all this paint off. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to grab my knife or paper towel, wipe my knife off, because I want all this paint off. All this paint off is going to make the next step of highlighting so much easier. So we're going to get all this paint off. Good. So, I'm going to get my brush, and I'm just going to use my brush that I was blending with. We're going to pull this paint down. So just grab it and pull it. And again, part of this is to bring that paint down so we spread it out. We don't have as much paint. And then this also helps us to create a nice misty area at the bottom of the mountain without having to add mist, which is nice. It can happen naturally if you do it right. Okay, so we're just pulling this down, pulling this out, and it'll just kind of go off the canvas there. Maybe let's bring this up a wee bit. There it is. We don't want that straight line. So just bring this down. This will go off this way into nothingness. And again, we're just pulling that color down. And once we get down here, we're going to blend it out. Blend it out. Again, we want a gradual color so it's darker and it gradually gets lighter as we head down. You don't want to have it dark, dark, dark and then a straight line. Have it gradually get lighter as you go down, and that's going to give you more depth in your mountain. And it'll also make it look like it's floating out there in the middle of nowhere. Okay, very good. Now we get to highlight it. All right, so let me get my knife. And to highlight, I'm going to use my big knife and my small knife and all the edges of it. So for this one, I think we're going to start, our sun is here, so maybe in this little area here, we're going to have like a drop-off kind of cliff here. So first thing I want to do is take a little bit of white and yellow, just a touch. So I'm going to come over here, a little white and yellow off to the side. I think I'm going to get my small brush for this, or my small knife. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit of this yellow and white on the small edge of the knife, just a touch, just barely a touch. And I'm going to come right here and just pull down quick. Pull down and get out. Just a little light spilling over there. Just a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to go into some white, and it's okay if we have some of that yellow still on our knife. I'm going to pull this out with some yellow in it. Right across. Just get a little roll of paint. Now when I highlight my mountains, and I went through this when I did my live last week, hold your knife very lightly, 2 fingers. Hold it enough that you get enough of a grip on it, but you want to hold it so gently that you almost drop it. One second. One little thing I wanted to show you guys that I did not do, that I'm just remembering now, is to wipe this off a wee bit. So once I get my mountain color down, I blend it out. I like to take a shop towel, and I forgot to do this, and remove some of this extra paint, because this will make your highlighting of this mountain a lot easier. He's got a lot of paint on there still. So let's get a lot of that paint off. This step comes in very handy, and it's going to make your next step so much easier, is to get this paint off. Makes highlighting easier, and it'll set your mountain in the distance a little bit by changing the value of that base color to a little bit lighter. So get that off of there. Once you get all that off, I'm going to go back to my brush and blend this out again, being careful not to hit that, although we can pull it a little bit. Just to get those shop towel marks out of there. Just blending it back out. Okay. Very good. So, got a little roll of paint, a little white. When I highlight my mountain, I like to do it, to start off, little short choppy strokes. Little short choppy strokes are the way to go. You always see Bob, who does the long strokes, and that's fine if you can do it. And I like to do that at times, but I find the short choppy strokes are easier to get the feel. You're going to get a little better paint break at first, and especially if you're a beginner, this is going to make highlighting your mountain so much easier. So, little short choppy strokes, light touch, only want that roll of paint hitting the canvas. And a lot of times, I'll go 2 or 3 times and not even touch the canvas, just getting closer, and then when you hit it, you'll know, and that little break you'll find is, it's kind of satisfying when it breaks off your knife. So we're going to come right up here, and we're going to cut this off here. So we want to start above the dark, just a little bit. You want to cover it. You don't want, try not to have that dark sticking out on your edges. Shadow side, that's fine. But on your highlight side, if this light's hitting, it's going to be highlighted there. So we're going to come right here, touch, and we're going to pull straight down. Just pull straight down, just like that. Don't go too, so a little bit of paint on here. Come up again, and just little, short. Like that. Again, cut up another roll of paint. Think about what you're doing, where you're going to go with this. We're going to have this one come down. Cuts out in front like that. Something like that. We'll come over here. Little white. Come right above. You can see I do not have a steady hand, and that's okay. Lightly touch, see that? Touch. And if you touch lightly, that paint will come right off. A little lighter on that side. Then on this back side, it's going to be a little bit darker. So we're going to take a little bit of that purple that we had and make a little separate pile with some purple and some white. Leave it very marbled. We'll come over here and just gently pull down on this shadow side over here. Yeah, a little white to it here and there. Okay, go back to this purple. Like that. Okay. White with a little touch of yellow. Oops. Gently, gently. Come on, a little purple. And a little bit of this purple color over here on the shadow side back here. It's going to go off there. A little bit of a different mountain than what I did the other day. All right. So I'm also going to grab a little bit of white to come over this and just drizzle some white over top. Just a little bit. And leave some of these dark areas. Very good. Now we'll come over to this side. Got a little roll of paint. And just let that paint come right off your knife. If you just skim it, it'll just fall right off because our canvas is pretty dry because I wiped most of the paint off. And just build your mountain bits at a time. comes out a little bit down there towards the bottom. And again, it's just like putting together a puzzle, a little bit at a time. Touch of white up here. It's a little more shadowy on this side. A little of that purple. Okay. And I'm going to redefine this edge here. This is going to cut off that purple. This is going to shoot down in front of that one. Let's keep moving. All right, so we're going to come up here. That. And I'm going to come over top of this just with a little bit of this purple, a little purple on my knife, and we're just going to gently graze. See that? Just a little bit of that purple. Reflect a little bit of that color in there. Like that. And then on this one, we're going to a little bit of the yellow. I'm going to spill some yellow in here. Let's come over here. Come over that purple color. It's a little darker down here. Nice. Spill some purple here. Knock this down a wee bit, color-wise. All right. All right, now we're going to go to this side, pop in some shadow, a little white in the purple. I'm going to follow this top edge outline here. I'm going to drizzle a little bit of white, just a touch of white. It's a little bit different mountain colors, but still cool. All right, very good. more white. Just drizzle. All right. Now, I'm going to stand back and take a look at it for a minute. See what I got. Thanks for the likes, you guys. Tap that screen for me. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to come in here and blend this down a wee bit. It kind of looks like a little chasm back there. Okay. Now I'm going to come back with my 2-inch brush and we're just going to tap the base. Just tap that base out. You want a misty effect down here. Don't tap straight across. You start a little low, come up a little bit. Follow the angles. So if your angles are coming this way, tap down this way. If your angles are going this way, tap this way. Start here and work it out. Again, right here, pull that out. See that? The angles are changing. Over here. And come down here. Just tap, tap, tap. And that diffuses the base. Okay, and beat your brush out a little bit. And then come up against the way you tapped. This way. This way. Come up the mountain a little bit, not too much though. And then this way. And blend that out. That'll look all misty. Bumps there. There, get that out of there. I don't know what that was. All right, bring that up like that. Just kind of blend that boy out. Very good. I'm going to drizzle a little more white on this side. Come back with my knife. Just a wee bit. Just adds a little detail. And you can even go back, take a little bit of your mountain mix, just a dark color, and even drizzle a little dark so you have some dark crevices. Just a little bit here and there. If you get too much, it's easy to take away. Good. Just add in a few dark spots. Especially on these shadow parts. All right. Go back to our blender. Just blend that out a little bit. Okay, very good. Now let's move forward. All right, so I think we're good with that. It's a little bit of a different mountain. I do want to cover, just want to put a little bit just a wee bit over this spot, just to break it. The yellow's a little strong there. That's better. Breaks up that yellow. Kind of had a yellow blob sitting up there. So I'm going to go and drizzle. Go back into my white, straight white. I'm going to clean up these edges and add a little more. Gently. Just add a little more color in there. Build this out a little bit. Just adding a little more here. Build the edge of this out a wee bit. Comes down like that. Good. Tap out that base a little bit. Fluff it up. Just add a little definition behind these. Good. All right. I'm happy with that. All right, now we're going to make some trees. Bunch of background trees. I'm going to wipe my brush off. And we are going to go into some of the mountain mix. Got a little purple on my brush, that's okay. So we'll go into this mountain mix. And we're going to make a line of background trees. So let's come down here. I think we're going to have a line that starts over the horizon. So we're going to kind of be looking down. And we're going to start here. Okay. We're going to get a little taller. And then maybe come back down. Yeah, it goes off there, and it goes off on this side. A lot of times we see straight across trees, and that's fine, but if something simple like this gives the impression that this is close and that's far away, and that's what you want. You want to create that depth in your painting, and something like that certainly helps. So get those clean top edges, and again, just kind of works off here, right up, down over the hill. Fill the gaps. We don't want to have gaps in here because this is dense trees. You wouldn't be able to see through them, at least in my world. Okay, and that goes off there, down to nothing. Okay, and then we're going to have another one. I'm going to fill this dark up here, just with this leftover paint. So we get all this dark. But also leaving that little bit, because that looks like it's a little further away there. And that's fine. This will all be covered up over here. I'm not worried about that. So maybe something like that. Okay. And then our second line of trees, again, more of the mountain mix. Maybe the second line will start back here, maybe here. Okay? And it's a little closer. So these are going to get taller with that brush. And then maybe it drops back there. More paint. And these are going to be more in the foreground here. And then it'll go off. Chisel that edge so you can get a nice clean top. Vary your heights. Try not to have them all the same height. And again, that's going to go off into nothing. Down like that. And if you see what I'm going to do here, I'm going to be layering grass in between a lot of these. This is going to come up a little further. Okay. And then maybe on this side, maybe here, we'll have another line of trees that comes up and gets even taller. Drops off quickly. Maybe they go off that way. So these trees appear as if they're coming up the hill towards us, which is what we want. Again, that's going to help create depth in our painting. Again, straighten some of these tops. Again, we want to darken all this in. That'll go off. That, like that. Go a little higher. All right. Let me take a peek here. Okay, so we're going to go into we got some green here. So we'll take some yellow, pull it out over here. A little bit of green, yellow and sap green, and we'll see what we got there. So just kind of tap it into your brush. Again, I'm just going to be working some grass areas from this back corner. Start here, and we're just tapping. See that? Just tapping. Bring that up into here. We're just tapping. On this side of these trees, it might be a little darker here because of the sun, so we're going to wait for that paint to run out. And then we can go to this side once it's run out a little bit and take care of that like that. It's a little bit darker over here. Okay, and we'll do the same thing back in here. Again, just tap. I think these trees are coming a little further down here. nice. Okay. And I'm going to stick with this fan brush for now. Maybe here. These are a little forward. And again, we're just tapping this fan brush, just tapping it. It's going to be dark on this side. And it'll be a little darker on this side. Maybe a little light pops through over here. We're going to cover most of that up anyways. Now, see our light is coming here. So right here, we'll go into some straight yellow. Just a little bit of yellow, a little straight yellow. And then right where we think this sun's going to hit, we can touch that with some of that straight yellow. Just to bring it out a little bit. Okay, and then a little darker on this side. Okay, very good. Now, I'm going to take my 1-inch brush. Let me see here. Actually, what I want to do, I want to add a few details on these front trees. So we will go into some of that mountain mix. Oh, let me clean this brush off better. Clean my brush off. All right. Now we'll come into this mountain mix. Load up got a little filbert brush. Both sides. Push and get that little ridge of paint on there. Okay, and we're going to come over here and just a couple of these we're going to outline a little bit. This guy up front. Maybe here. Just kind of side to side. Again, this is just light, gentle indications. Nothing too fancy. Just a little closer. More paint. That rounded edge. And again, we're just, really doesn't matter here. We're really only concerned about the tip, the very tip of the tree. There we are. That one we're not going to worry about. But just up here. Tap. And then we're going to load. And again, it doesn't matter down here. We'll kind of separate that stuff. Oops. Good. Just make this a little darker. There we are. There we go. I don't think I'm going to highlight these. I might put a little bit of highlight on them, but they're more kind of silhouette. So we might go a little bit of highlight, just a little touch. So a little bit of that green and yellow, just a little bit. And we're just barely going to touch here, just maybe. Just a few gentle light indications, not much. Because it's going to be darker on this side, since our light is behind us. But just to give it a little definition. There, see, that's perfect, just a little bit. You don't want them sticking out too much. Something like that. And we really don't need to touch much else. Maybe a little over here. Going back this tree line. But not much. I think that's good. On my monitor, the trees are not coming out as defined. I can see them much better. Although it's a little more hard to see on my monitor. So I'm gonna actually touch up the edges of that a little bit with a little more yellow than normal, just so you can see them a little better. So let's be careful. A little more liquid white. Just some of that straight yellow. There, it's a little better. I think you can see them a little better this way. Just touching them a little bit. Darker at the bottom, darker at the bottom. Just a couple little touches. And nothing back there. It brings them out a little more. Don't want too much. There we go. Excellent. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to plop some trees here and continue our grass. So let's see here. I think we're going to go up on the sides here and put some big trees in. So we will go with a filbert brush. I usually, I used to do all my trees with a fan brush, but I tell you, the last year or so I've been really enjoying using a filbert brush. It gets kind of a cool shape with them, so we're going to stick with that for this one. So let's go into, again, we're going to use our mountain mix. And I'll touch a little sap green and plop that in there just to give it a little more of a green tint. So both sides. Okay. Let's see where we're going to go. Maybe we'll start off. We'll have maybe a smaller one. You know what I want to do? I'm going to pop in a little grass first. So let's pop in some grass. I've got my 1-inch brush. I'm going to dip into liquid white. Okay, so I got some liquid white on my brush. I'm going to put this off to the side. Okay, then I'm going to come through this color we have with the green and the yellow. A little more yellow. You could even put a little black in there if you'd like. And then we're going to tap this. What we want is to get that little ridge of paint at the edge of our bristles. Don't need a lot of paint for the grass, but tap, tap, tap. And get that little ridge of paint. That little ridge of paint is also on the edge of our bristles. So we'll come in here, we're going to do this little back line, although we'll have trees over this, so we're just going to tap. Just tapping. Just so we get a little color behind these trees. Tapping, tapping. Good. I'm going to come back here. Add a little bit of color. Not much, because again, we're going to cover all this up over here, so I'm not too worried about it. But just so we have a little color back here. And we'll add more there. All right, so we're going to put some trees in here. Maybe the first one we'll put about right here. It's going to be a little bit further back. So just put a little guideline. Maybe something like that. Make sure she's straight. Okay, and then we'll come in here and just with the corner, let's get it started. And then as we work down, a little more pressure and work side to side. See that? A little more paint. And we're basically just kind of working side to side, starting in the middle. I like to start in the middle and then work outwards. See? This filbert makes a cool evergreen. So this one's going to come down a little bit, a little bigger. Cut the front here. Good. Darken that bottom up. Very good. Now we're going to put another one in. Let's put one right maybe here. This one's going to come down in front of this one. Maybe a little bit. So again, load that filbert up. Use the corner to get it started. Just touch. And then work your way down and go a little bit side to side. You'll pick up some paint going over that mountain, so sometimes you need to thin it a little bit. We're working back and forth. A little more paint. We'll just bring that boy down, or that girl, in front of him, like that. Again, see how these makes these really cool hangy downs. I like it. All right, more paint. I'm going to go back into this mountain mix, okay? And over here, we're going to have a big one. Maybe this boy goes up here, about to here. Guideline. And you don't have to do that. I just do it because so I've always done it. Just kind of gives me an idea where the tree's going to go. So I'm going to start up here. And again, just kind of side to side. Don't get too fat too quick. That's the thing with this. Don't get your tree too wide too soon. More paint. And just kind of build your tree out a little bit by a little bit. More paint. So yeah, the filbert makes a really cool evergreen. A little different. And then just fill that in. He's a little bigger there. All right, and we'll come over to this other side and we'll kind of do the same thing. So we'll grab our, again, get that, oops, wrong color. Let me wipe that off. Just went through my blue. That's a problem. I'm going to clean off my filbert because I just ran it through the blue. All right. Wipe that brush off. All right, now let's try that again. Into the mountain mix. Load up that brush full of paint. Full of paint. So let me see here. Maybe we're going to have a couple on this side. Let's see, we'll put one here. So maybe we'll have the bigger one here. He's going to come down. And sometimes you can map out your trees. You know, just don't put them all in. Just maybe do a couple lines here and there, what you might want. I think maybe this boy will go maybe here. And let's see. Well, we'll see. We might plop another one on the edge. I'm going to plop another one over here too, possibly. Let's go over here. So we'll start with this one that's a little further off, just using the corner. Let me get out of the way. Make sure we got enough paint on there. So we're just going to touch, then start to level that brush out. We're going over this mountain, so sometimes when you go over that mountain, it's going to eat your paint. So I go into a little bit of thinner, just a little bit of thinner. A little bit of thinner, and then back into your mountain mix, and that should allow that to come off without picking up all that undercolor. There we go. See, a little thinner, and then that sticks real nice. All right, let's keep going. Remember, I like to start in the middle and work out. Start in the middle and work out. A little more paint. Them hangy downs. Don't get too wide too quick. And then the bottom, really, you just smashing in color. We'll bring this boy down. We'll separate it with highlights. Very good. A little more paint. Okay, so we're going to come over here. I'm going to darken a little bit. A little light. But you don't want too much paint in there. It's going to make the sticking process of the next part a little more difficult. But we can soak that up a little bit. So we're going to, again, chisel that edge up, come up here. Use the corner to get started, and then our side to side. Again, this filbert does really cool hangy downs. More color. Start at the center, work your way out. And see, as you can see, I'm picking up a lot of that underpaint. So when you're picking up a lot of that underpaint, just tip just a drip on the edge of your bristles in the thinner. Then it's usually good to wipe it out and then come back through with some paint. You need to thin that paint down a little bit to get it to stick over that underpaint, because it'll pick it up quickly. And we're just going to fill it in. And again, we can separate all this down here with highlights. Maybe this boy comes down in front of him. And disappears. There we go. Very nice. At least we hope. Okay, now, the next step, since I have a lot of paint on there, it is kind of nice to take a shop towel to make your next step easier to absorb some of this oil. Now, I know a lot of you know Kevin Hill, he just kind of sticks it over it, you know, just kind of pushes into it, and we can do that. but I don't want to mess up my mountain behind it either. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of more dab it. Just going to dab. And dabbing will pick up all that extra oil, hopefully, and it will make the next step a little bit easier highlighting it. Just be careful. Just be careful. You don't want to smear it into your sky, but we're just going to touch it, dab it, and get that extra paint off. And that way our highlights will stick a little better. I never used to do this, but I tell you what, it does make a difference. Makes a big difference. So we'll come over here, get my big old bald head out of the screen, and then again, just kind of touch and absorb that paint. Be careful. All right, just kind of touch it up. Good. Very nice. And we can get rid of that. Now, we are going to put more grass in. And then we'll highlight these trees. But I'm gonna lay my grass in first. So again, I'm just using my Bob Ross 1-inch. We had a little yellow. Pull that yellow out, a little green. And even grab a little bit of that mountain mix. A little of the mountain mix, just a little bit. Grab it on your, pull that into the green, a little yellow. And you could even put a little blue in there. Makes a nice green. But we're just going to push. Again, just get that little roll of paint, little ridge of paint up on the end of your brush. Start here, and we're just tapping, just tapping. A little more yellow to that green. Again, just tapping. Come back here. And this is your so-called lay of the land. And you can tap it more to make it softer, however you want. If you want it a little lighter, you can certainly do that. Maybe this comes up through here. And again, we're just tapping. I didn't even add any base color. I just got the black gesso here. Want a little lighter on this side of the tree because it's going to be darker over here. And I'm going to put some bushes in here too, so I don't really need to do this quite yet. We're just tapping that green in. Maybe this comes through like that. Tap. Okay, and then some of these areas where we know we got that sun coming down, you can just go straight into straight yellow. So I got the same brush, but I'm just kind of loading the tips with some cad yellow. Just the tips a little bit, so we can, when we know that sun's coming down, we can come here and just kind of spray a little bit of that bright color, maybe even back here a little bit. A little more, maybe it hits here, wherever you think the sun will come through. Right up there on the tip. There we go. Not going to mess with that too much while some bushes coming in there. Just tap, 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 tap. Okay, very good. So, I tell you what, let's move on. Let's highlight these trees, and then we'll put some bushes in front, and we'll get out of here. So I'm going to take the same filbert that I used to do the underpaint, and we are going to go through the little bit of this yellow. We already got the dark on here, so a little yellow. I'm going to go grab a little liquid white. I'm going to take the liquid white and kind of push it off to the side here, but I got it on in my bristles here. Then come back into this yellow and just get that paint right at the tip. Okay, and then we'll come up here. Since our light's coming this way, over here, we're mainly going to highlight the right side. Once we start running out of paint, we can move over to the other side, and we'll also pick up a little bit of the dark color, so our first touches will be very bright, and then as we pick up a little dark and run a little less of paint, we can come to the other side and kind of have a couple colors working here. So just touch. Just be careful. Take your time when you do these. Start some in the center and kind of work your way out. Also start from the center and go this way some every now and then, and that gives you that rounded feel. And don't rush it. Take your time when you're putting these in. Take your time. I know we see Bob do it quick, but Bob had 26 minutes to tape a show. We got a little more time. So please take your time. So that's good. That's all I'm going to do on that one. I'm not even going to put anything on the other side. Again, a little more color. Thank you, Mercy. I appreciate it. Y'all, give me them taps. Let's see some taps and some likes. It'll help me get out in front of other people. Appreciate it, Mercy. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. All right, so let's come to this next tree. Again, we'll start at the top. Just touch, real light at the top, and take your time. Now we'll kind of maybe come over here, and out this way. A little more color. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Again, come over slow, down, down. Leave a lot of dark. Leave a lot of dark. Maybe this one comes over. Give us that rounded look. And then down here we get very dark. Don't worry about the bottom. And again, we get some more color. A little more of the liquid white. Going into that yellow. And just touching, getting a little ridge of paint on the tips. Come up here. So we'll go up to this big one. Touch. Keep that highlight on the top. Okay, and then again we'll work out here. See how we come back this way a little bit, then come over here, come over like that. More color. Real light touch, real light touch. Again, come work your way this way a little bit, come back down this way. And darker down here. Don't worry about the bottom as much. Now you can, what I like to do at some points, like I get the color off by doing this. Okay, get most of it off. Then we can kind of come to the other side and just lightly, see that? You can barely see it, but it's there. But that's with almost no color at all. And just kind of rounds out your tree. Just a wee bit. Not too much. Leave a lot of dark. All right, very good. Now on this side, we got light hitting this side of the tree. So we want the bright colors here. All right, so let's go in again. A little liquid white. Go into that greenish, yellowish fun. Okay, we'll come up here. And again, just touch. This time we're coming this way. If you got to push too hard, you don't have enough paint at the end. It should just be a light touch to come off. If you're pushing, you don't have a thin enough paint. So get that liquid white on it, put it back in there, a little yellow, get that little ridge of paint. That's right on the tips. That's what you want here. A little too much. Tap it a couple times in your palette and it goes away. Darker at the bottom. And then now that we got a lot of that paint off, we can go to the other side and just gently, here and there. Not much. Not much. That's about it. All right. A little more paint. Come up to the big boy. Okay, a little more paint. More color. I'm going to bring this tree in front of this guy. And darker at the bottom. And then now that we're out of paint, we can kind of come over to this side and just tag a couple little thingies. Just lightly. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, very good. All right, now, all right, so we're going to put some bushes in here. Let's see. I need I think I'm going to go with a brush to put a little bit of paint in. Don't need much. I'm not going to put too much paint in here. Just a little bit. That's fine there. Maybe we'll have something here. Just adding a little dark paint underneath, and then we'll just shape our bushes out of that. Kind of go down there maybe. So we'll take some of that out. And then the same thing on this side. Again, not too much, because we already have the gesso on there, so just adding a little bit of paint. Put a couple bushes there. I don't know, maybe we'll fill this whole bottom in with bushes. We'll see. We'll see. Not sure. But just add a little paint down here, that's all. And then we can put our bushes in and we're good to go. So, I'm going to grab my 1-inch and let me come into a little bit of liquid white. Okay. And I've got a little bit of a magenta color here. So I'm going to tap, 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 tap like crazy. So I got liquid white mixed with this magenta. You need the liquid white because you have to thin this color down, otherwise it's not going to stick. So, and when you tap like this, okay, once you get the bush in the paint, you know you got enough on your brush. See how you got that bush shape in the paint? That's exactly what you got on the end of the brush. So then we'll come up here. Maybe this one we're going to put in right here. So we'll tap. And see how that comes right off. And I can even show you. I'm going to bring my phone off. And let's come in close. Okay. So you can see my bristles. So let's come in here. We're just touching. See that? Paint comes right off. A little darker on this side. See that? Now we'll come down here, Tap again. Get that paint in there. See that? Got to have a good amount of paint. Maybe we'll put one of these over here. So you get your close up here. Again, watch. Top corner, touch, touch, touch. A little darker on this side. Okay, a little brighter over here. And there you go. So we got some cool little bushes there. We're going to go, I'm going to take that same brush. All right. Now I'm going to go through and tap that. Again, get that bush in your paint. Might need more paint on there, but we'll see. A little more liquid white. All right, we'll put some purple boys in here. So again, push, get that little ridge of paint. Maybe this boy comes up here. Works its way down, like that. Going to mix up a little more of that color. So I'm running low. We got a little crimson, a little blue. I'm going to mix that up. Give us a nice lavender. Just stir it up. My palette's a mess. Okay, let's mix that up. And if you put a little white in there, you'll be able to see what you got. So I'm going to add a little more white to that. There we go. Mix that up. I like that. Good. All right, so we'll grab some of that again. Just again, sticking it, tapping it. And when you get that little bush in your paint, you got that on your bristles. Load it up real good. The better you load it up, the much easier it is, trust me. The less you got to work it. So we'll put this baby maybe right here. Just tapping. Like that. I really like that magenta color. It's very nice. Maybe we'll put him down in front of this one. Just tapping. A little lighter down here, gentler, gentler, gentler. As the top of this is catching the sun, the back down here is going to be much darker. Now, let's go into that where we had the greens and the yellow. So we're going to go into some liquid white. Okay, I'll put our liquid white down here. Some yellow. We're going to get some phthalo green. A little bit of phthalo green, so it'll be nice and colorful. A little liquid white. We'll tap that, tap, 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 tap. Get that little bush going. Maybe this boy is right over here. You know, some vibrant colors, that's for sure. Woo! That. Very colorful. Darker over here and darker at the base. Very nice. I'm digging that. All right, let's change it up a little bit. We're going to take that same color and go grab a little bit of the Indian yellow. Just a little bit. just to change that flavor a wee bit. Okay, maybe this boy comes in here. Darker on this side. Maybe cuts down like that. Very good. And again, leave it dark. And even some areas you can go back and punch in a little bit dark. Like this got a little bright on this side, so you can come back and stick it. A little bit of dark over here. Very good. Very nice. Now let's come over here. And I think we'll just, I like the idea of this coming down. So I'm going to gently bring that down a little bit. Stretches around. Come back into my magenta. I'm digging that magenta. Again, just tap, 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 tap. Let's see here. Coming in my grass color here. Okay, my greens. And then we're going to come into some, I'm going to come down here and grab a little bit of this red. Wipe my brush off. So I'm going to grab a little liquid white. And I'm going to grab a little bit of this red and a little bit of the Indian yellow. Just a little bit. Tap, tap, tap. Very colorful today. And darker back here. Oops. All right. All right, a little more of the green. To the side there. I'll leave that dark in that corner. Little liquid white. And we're going to tap it into this pink, or the red Indian yellow, just the top corner. See what we get. Okay. There's my purples. Let's go to the purples. Back to my green. I don't like that purple in there, so I'm going to get rid of it. Do not like this. So let's get rid of it. Easy to fix. That out. Put some more dark in. So you can fix things so easily. Scrape it, cover it, move on. Okay. Now we're going to put some of that red in there. Good. Let's go into more of that straight yellow with a little bit of the phthalo green in it. Again, tap, 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 tap. Okay, we'll plop this boy in here. A little dark on the back half. Okay, very nice. And again, these little dark sections are very important. Leave them in. Leave them in. Now I'm going to go on top of that purple bush there. And what we're going to do is we'll drop some magenta flowers right on top. There we go. And you can do that with any paint. You can drop a little more on top to make a pretty flower. So, let me see here. Fill that out. And I think we're good to go on that. I think I'm happy with that, and I'm going to leave it. Now, I may come back and make some adjustments, and which I like to do. You know, come back and fix a couple things here and there. But that's not too bad. I think I'm pretty happy with it. I think I'm just going to sign it with a little white in the corner. So, I'm just going to go into a little bit of liquid white, which works very well. Just spin my brush. Spin, spin, spin. Hit that little point. And come down here and real small. Oops. It's like you can paint this whole painting, but you can't sign your name. It's hilarious. There we go, JC. All right. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you had fun with it. Hope you learned something. I enjoy making these, so be prepared for more content like this, more how-tos and tutorials and such. Please like, subscribe, follow at all my social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, and you can see everything that I post. So again, thank you, and we will see you on the next one. All the best.